Welcome to Full Discourse with me, Josh Elkin. This is a space where I invite guests of all walks of life in the food industry to discuss major moments in food's vast internet history. But before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you'll never miss an episode, and maybe leave a nice review or comment to support the show. In this episode, we're going to discuss the very, very early days of food on the internet. We're talking about prehistoric pixels loading via dial-up like the unearthing fossils from the dirt. If you know what I'm talking about, you know that dial-up sound, that high-pitched noise that burns into your brain if you were born before the 90s. And with that being said, how did we even go from posting and sharing pictures online to creating full-fledged food industries on the internet? We're going to talk about that today. Today, I'm joined by one of the early adapters of formal food reviews online. He's also my dear friend and doppelganger, which means we look exactly the same, sound exactly the same, and actually act exactly the same. His name is Elie Ayrouth. You might recognize him from the very popular food channel and food brand media empire, FoodBeast. Elie, welcome to the podcast.
Let's go, Josh.
Yeah.
Congratulations on this beautiful podcast set. I'm very excited to be here.
I appreciate you. I
Yeah.
appreciate you for being here. I appreciate your energy. And honestly, I just appreciate the relationship we have when it comes to food. Like, that's basically what our whole friendship is based off of, right?
It is based off all of the food, but also I'm like super excited. I haven't thought about the AOL login screen in so long, like decades. And that's like the best era of the internet.
I mean, for us, it's the best era of the internet.
I'm sad that a lot of people don't get that anymore. Like, outside of food, just the idea that the internet's just there. It's just on your watch. It's on your phone. It's whenever you want it. And you would have to like where were you? You were born what, like in the 60s?
Relax, okay? Born in the 80s.
Okay.
I'm luckily, I gotta tell you, I was born, I'm a little older than you. I was born in the early 80s, but I was an early adapter. Whereas like I have friends that are a couple of years younger than me, like closer to your age, that can't Google anything. They can't search for like their email. That's how.
Really?
Yeah. Some people just didn't adapt it back then, you know?
Yeah. I remember rushing home on the first computer that had access to AOL. You had to use the CD. And if you had to go to the guest room, and in the guest room is the only PC in the house. There's just one, not one in every room. There was one. You go in there and I'd have to, like, as you log on, take a good 5-10 minutes to log on. It's like, and it's a chance it might not log on. It might not catch. You have the running man, the AOL running man. It goes.
Plus, you got to make sure no one's picking up the phone.
Exactly, bro.
Then it's over.
And then you get kicked out of the chat room because your mom is like trying to fucking call Diana down the street.
Yo, Diana needs to chill. But you know what's interesting about what you're saying? I'm from Canada, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have AOL.
Was Canada Online?
It wasn't Canada Online. But the funny thing was, AOL would send us constant and relentless CDs in the mail.
Does it even work in Canada?
No, it never did. You couldn't, like, you'd have to dial long distance. You know how expensive that was in the 90s?
What a crazy American gaze I just blazed, that I just assumed that someone from Canada knew exactly what America Online was.
I do know what America Online is, but the way I know it is spam mail, like actual like mail spam.
How did you log on to the internet?
We had our own internet providers.
Okay.
Back then, for me, it was TotalNet. TotalNet. And we had MSN.
MSN,
so you could do it through that. But where I was, we used ICQ. Do you remember ICQ?
A little flower logo messenger.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Right?
You had a number. You had an ICQ number,
Yeah.
like a 9-digit or some shit.
Something like that. Do you remember your first
my screen name?
Your username?
Yeah, my username was Scream5962. I love the movie Scream.
Okay.
And I was like barely allowed to watch it. So I was like, I'm going to show off to all the ladies. And my username is Scream5962 because literally 5,961 people had the username Scream before
Scream
me.
was a very popular movie back then.
Yeah.
My first username was Jungle Taxi.
Why?
The only I don't remember why I did it, but the only reference I have in my brain of Jungle Taxi was my camp counselor from Manhattan named Lee something. And he used to like make us, he would be like to round up the campers. He'd be like, jungle. And we'd all go, taxi. Ooh.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird.
I got no idea. But
like
yeah,
weird.
MSN, dial-up internet.
Yeah.
Google wasn't a thing back then.
No, it was like they had like every search engine but that.
What was your go-to?
I mean, I did the AOL search. Like
Okay.
it had a search bar at the top, but I don't even remember how I searched for a while. There's like Alta Vista, like
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves was a good one. That was kind of Google before Google,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yahoo. Eventually,
Did you have
Yahoo.
Lycos?
We had Lycos.
Yeah.
I was a big nerd early era of the internet.
Same.
So I took the internet,
Kindred Spirits.
every version of the internet I wanted to explore. So I remember AOL.
Yeah.
I would go in there and I would go into the chat rooms and try to find my tribe. Like, so Pokemon, like there's Pokemon chats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then video games, right? Like, so I would go and join a video game chat or go to like IGN.com. That was
IGN was a thing back then?
Yeah, it was crazy. So I used to go to the library and you would get your magazines there because my parents wouldn't like let me buy video game magazines from the store.
Yeah.
So I would go buy them or I would go rent them at the library, check them out.
Like Nintendo Power?
Exactly.
Great magazine.
Yeah. And then when you found out, yo, you get all the cheat codes online, the internet was a special place.
That's when it started.
Yeah.
For me, it was bootlegging music. That was my first
Burning CDs, dude.
like I'm talking about before Napster. I was on MIRC.
That's
like
too nerdy
getting,
for me, bro.
yeah, that was an op on there.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Like the @ adding someone to like talk to them, that started on IRC.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never used, I tried to use it. It just looked
Calling
really
yourself
complicated.
A nerd. I'm the real nerd here.
All right.
But my first search engine was web crawler.
Damn.
Do you remember that?
I remember web crawler.
Web crawler.
Web crawler.
Remember Netscape?
Netscape was a whole, yeah, it was a browser. Yeah.
I can still remember the end with like the little like universe like flying around.
Yeah. Yeah. And then AIM was the big thing next. So like people that didn't have
AIM,
AOL, they had AIM. AIM is how there was a whole culture around it where you leave an away message.
That's when it came to Canada. That's when ICQ kind of like got run over by AIM.
Yeah.
I remember because I was talking to people on AIM back then. Like I remember
Why
like
you say that like you were hiding some shit?
because like the way I'm thinking about it, it was like I want to say I was 15 and I was a summer camp guy, right? So I went to summer camp, but a lot of my friends did this thing called West Coast Connections where they would go across the West Coast with another group of like 15-year-olds from all over the continent. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because there was a lot of like American girls in that. And then I met all these American girls and I would talk to them on AIM.
Damn. See, that's where our age gap is just, there's a few years there where the internet is different for you.
Yeah.
So for me, I was in the era where you never use your real name online.
Yeah.
It was terrifying,
Yeah.
right? Your parents warn you, they scare you, like someone is going to kill you once they find your first name.
Identity fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was known as Scream, last name 5962. It was scary. I remember when I got my first check after that, I started doing like a email list for Pokemon cheat codes.
Damn, you were getting mailing lists back then?
I was trying to monetize. Like I was
how
like,
old are you? 13?
yeah, I'm like 13, 14. I'm trying to make a buck.
Not stop for you.
So I was like, yo, I had 2 email lists, a Pokemon email list of people who love Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I had a joke list because I thought it was funny. So I had like jokes that I would email out every week. But I would go into chat rooms and there'd be like 34 people in this chat room. Like, bet that's 34 people. I'm going to get one at a time to join my mailing list. And that parlayed into the first era of the internet where you can create like a one-way website.
Like an Angel Fire website.
Exactly. Angelfire.com
Banners.
/ PokeWorld. You know what I'm saying? That was my Pokemon site. And so I remember getting a check from this like advertising company that wanted to put banner ads on the really flashy, annoying ones on the bottom of every site. And they needed to know who to send it to. So I had to tell my mom, hey, can I have someone send you
There is
a $50 check?
There's no chance she let you do that.
No. So
No
I like,
chance.
there's just money that was owed to me just sat on the internet. And because my parents didn't want check to come to the house. They thought there's no way the internet was so foreign.
Yeah.
It's
Let alone
so
commerce
crazy.
on the internet, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
So that's an interesting segue because you started I guess not that long after you kind of like had your start in actual internet commerce kind of the same way, right?
Yeah. Create a website, drive community around it. And I just happened to do the first couple ones as Pokemon and video games and jokes is stuff that I was just into.
Right.
And eventually it was food.
But before food, you went into, you were trying to do like streetwear, right?
Yeah, I loved streetwear.
Right.
So again, part of internet culture, that next wave of culture, I started following, I got really into Hypebeast.
Mhm.
I got really into brands like The Hundreds and Johnny Cupcakes.
Wow.
And these are two streetwear brands that are, one, humongous. And at that era of streetwear, they were the go-tos. And what's special about both Johnny Cupcakes and The Hundreds is that they told their entire story of building these brands, these fashion brands, via a blog. That was what made those two special. They told every trial and tribulation. You would go to thehundreds.com and you'd see Bobby Hundreds and all of the people like, today we're screen printing t-shirts. Today I'm meeting with this guy. And they're just giving you the playbook of how they're building their brands. Same with Johnny Cupcakes. This like guy who has a cupcake store in Boston.
No cupcakes.
This bakery that doesn't sell cupcakes. It sells t-shirts. And he would tell the story of the people that would walk into the store. He'd take pictures with them. And I was just enamored with the whole thing. I was like, yo, streetwear for like dudes like me. I'm like, this is cool. And there's brand building in it. And I didn't know any of this was being taught to me at the time. You were just enjoying.
You were just a fan.
Yeah. I'm like, this is reality TV. It's just on the internet.
Well, the interesting thing about it being taught to you like subconsciously kind of is like that was the internet for us growing up. We didn't know that we'd be in the internet today. Like we didn't know that the internet would be part of our livelihood today. We were just growing up with it.
Yeah.
And being fans of it.
Yeah.
Using the AIMs, using the IRCs, making blogs, making bullshit websites on Angel Fire and stuff like that. So when you started like being enamored with this like street style or rather streetwear, I want to say internet, what would you call it? Like you were sure you were a fan of like the actual physical products, but you were really fascinated with the way that they were running businesses online, right?
The Hundreds and Johnny Cupcakes are two of my favorite streetwear brands. I haven't bought a single good from either one of those brands. You've been
gifted though, for sure.
I've been gifted now.
Yeah.
And it was my dream. I was like, man, The Hundreds, I'm enamored. These two friends from college just start this company together and are bringing all of their friends and giving them livelihoods. I was enamored with that story. The products are really, really cool, but they're either out of my price range or I probably had some hubris in me that like one day I'm gonna meet these guys and they're gonna give me their product.
Hubris means...
You know what it means. You don't know what it means.
I mean...
My bad. I should just tell you what things mean.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I was cocky.
Okay.
I was confident.
Like you definitely thought you were gonna...
I thought one day, man, I want to do what they're doing.
Okay.
Like they inspired me, but also equal parts. Looking back, it's okay to be a fan of things. It's okay to be enamored and then support their vision.
Yeah.
Because they taught me so much just as I was actually a fan of theirs.
Right.
And they probably tell you nowadays they have tons of fans that don't actually buy any of their products, just following their journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's why today they make money as media people as well as clothing entrepreneurs. But yeah, I didn't buy any of their product. I was just enamored with their story. And I was like, damn, I would love that one day. So eventually I was like, I tried to start a streetwear brand. I thought I was just literally mimicking. I was like, this is what they do. What stories do I like? I like tech. So I created a brand called Fly Robot Clothing. And I created a blog and I started talking about everything about my journey, what was easy, what was hard. Here's the convention I'm going to. Here's who wore my clothes this week. And I just loved that whole process. And my whole friend group loved it. I just brought them into the fold to like gift all your friends clothes. You get into new shows. So that whole part, that's how I got into streetwear.
Did you find success doing that? Or did you did you transition?
Nominal success. Nominal success.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I was senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm slanging these shirts
was
out
that like 17?
17,
Yeah.
18. So I'm slanging these shirts out of the back of my car. And then following, there, I got onto a few websites like Karma Loop.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I was on Karma Loop for a bit.
For those of you who don't know, Karma Loop is like the original Urban Outfitters, essentially online. Yeah. Strictly online streetwear, all things like hip hop clothing
Yeah.
and knickknacks surrounding it. Okay.
So, you know, I was on Karma Loop. I went to a few stores where I actually would go drop off my clothes, say, hey, would you buy these? And that was the thing. So eventually I had a summer where I sold a lot of these clothes on Karma Loop. And I just didn't know how to do any of the financing part. I just wanted to do the blog. I just wanted to tell the story about the brand. And then I realized, oh shit, there was one Christmas where I sold like 500 t-shirts, which was a lot. And I ended up realizing that I lost money on every shirt that I sold.
Okay.
You know, so, and that was because Karma Loop discounted it and so on and so forth.
Right.
And I realized this shit just isn't really like for me here. And, but what I realized is I found out like Hypebeast was this website. It still is very, very successful website that talked about streetwear and men's fashion in a way that for some reason I had the foresight to say, no one's talking about food that way.
How did that happen?
My whole dream as someone who was trying to get into streetwear was I wanted to be featured on Hypebeast.
Okay.
If you got featured on this website, it would change the trajectory of your career as a streetwear fashion person. That's what I thought as an outsider. Ask anyone who's got featured on Hypebeast. It doesn't necessarily change your life. And then, but what I wanted to do was like, hey, shit, Hypebeast, people in my circle were calling each other food beasts. It's like, let me start this website called FoodBeast. I know how to make websites now. I like streetwear culture, but I can do it around something that no one else is talking about like that. Because food at the time was Food Network. To me, again, it's going to be different
This is
for everyone.
what, 2009?
2008.
2008.
2008.
Wow. Okay.
2008.
So we're going back. Like this is still like, this is, I guess, the beginning of YouTube, really. Same era-ish, right?
2008, Facebook existed, but there was no news. The news feed was just getting incorporated.
Oh, it was like
you couldn't share links on Facebook at the time. This is how just early internet. Instagram doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. MySpace is kaput.
MySpace is on the outs.
Yeah.
MySpace is on the outs. I think he had sold at that point.
Okay.
And again, you don't really share links on MySpace. So none of that really wasn't great for brand building at the time.
I don't even think the word sharing was a thing back then.
No.
Definitely not.
Because you don't, where do you share? You message people. You email people.
Yeah.
Social networking didn't really exist. And until Facebook really opened up its walls beyond colleges, social networking didn't really exist.
For sure not. Wait, was Twitter a thing then?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were there. And this is probably around the time that like, even though we were on opposite sides of the country and the world,
the continent,
that you and I were kind of getting started, I feel, on the internet. What was your thing then? Like,
I mean,
2008,
shit.
what were you doing?
2008, I was running recording studios and trying to like help rappers make music.
What?
Yeah, you never do that?
No.
Yeah. That's another. That's
I thought you were a paper salesman. I thought you were Michael Scott.
I always did that on the side. I was Dwight Schrute. Okay. I always did that on the side, but like I didn't jump in full time until years later. But back to FoodBeast for a hot second. So you and your friends are calling yourselves FoodBeast.
Yeah.
All you want to do is get featured on Hypebeast. So you're kind of like Hypebeast, FoodBeast.
Yeah.
There's only Facebook just started. There's no sharing. There's no timeline. There's none of that. The only thing we know about food is essentially Food Network. Really,
I think so.
Cooking channel.
Yeah.
Right.
There's cool cooking shows on, but they weren't for me. I didn't really watch any of that. I wasn't a foodie at all.
You weren't a foodie at all.
No.
So then you just wanted to talk about food just cause? Like
I think I had a community of friends, the same way I had streetwear. I had a community of friends that really liked food.
Yeah.
I had a roommate, loved to cook. I had friends of mine that they played a lot of sports, so they ate a lot. So we would they were like, hey, this is one of the first stories on FoodBeast is on Thursday, they had all you can eat sloppy joes in the cafeteria. So my boy Chris Doe, he's like, hey, if you follow me, I'm gonna eat 30 sloppy joes, bro. So we rally the whole dorm room at UC Irvine. We had to rally all of them. We're like, yo, Chris Doe is gonna go eat 30 sloppy joes. All you can eat. So we all go, the whole dorm makes it a thing on Thursday afternoon and we go. I have my flip phone at the time. I'm recording the whole thing on my flip phone.
Oh my God.
Photos. I'm going to do a photo journal. I'm going to blog this shit.
What's your phone?
It was this one at the time was the Motorola Razr.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the photos were like 1 megapixel.
I was just going to say, it's very pixelated. You could barely transfer them off your phone onto anything.
It was wild, bro. It was wild.
Okay.
So
I love that.
We follow this guy. So I'm like journaling the notes so I don't forget. I have the phone in my hand taking pictures and he gets up to like Sloppy Joe number 10. He stands up on the chair. The cafeteria right now is like silent.
Everyone knows what's going on.
Everyone knows what's going on. And they don't let this guy just walk up and get 30 sloppy joes at the cafeteria. There's rules.
Yeah.
Like it's like 2 at a time.
Right.
So the whole cafeteria is in on it. Everyone got 2 sloppy joes for him and put it on the table that he's standing on.
All I'm thinking of while you're telling me this, first, like, I'm trying to picture this right now with like the cafeteria tables, but all I'm thinking of is how this is, keep in mind, this is 2008.
Yeah.
If this was 10 years later, there's a million phones recording.
Hell yes.
This.
I was the only phone
There's a
out.
million phones recording. This is going viral in like post iPhone era.
It was wild. It was wild. So he gets up, 10 sloppy joes in, and I'm looking at him like, this dude is toast. This dude's something's gonna happen. And he clutches his stomach, clutches his mouth. This is a brand new white walled food dining hall at UC Irvine at the time. He runs. He runs to the bathroom. Everyone starts chasing. I'm chasing him. And by the time I get to where he is in the bathroom, all of the walls on the way are spray vomited with chili. Just spray vomited.
It's like a trail of vomit.
A trail.
Oh,
he
my
couldn't
goodness.
make it. He just projectile violent vomit all over the walls. I'm taking a picture of everything. I got everything on this fucking
foresight,
phone.
by the way. That is foresight. Just like snapping everything.
Yeah, I'm blogging at this time. I'm a blogger. This is what I'm doing.
You're vlogging, really.
I wish I was vlogging.
Yeah.
I don't have. There's no video. There's no video
yeah.
on it, right? I'm on the Motorola Razr 1 megapixel, baby. That was big tech at the time.
Are you kidding me?
So I take that. Chris Doe, he survives. You know, I still friends with him on Facebook to this day.
Okay.
I go home later that night and I start blogging this thing. FoodBeast.com. There's like maybe 3-4 articles on it at the time. And I write some like salacious title of it, like UC Irvine student projectile vomits on after sloppy Joe contest, right? And so I write this story, I post all of it, and it's like I'm violently detailed in this story. And I hit publish. This is at night. This is later that night.
Yeah.
I publish, wake up the next day, and I'm like, damn, bro, there's like 70 people on the website right now reading this, which is a lot of people.
Wait, when you hit publish, you went to sleep. What did you think? Did you think anything would
I
like
didn't think anything of it.
Or
I
you're
was
just like, damn, I'm nice with the words.
well, because you can't, once you hit publish, there's nowhere to share the link.
No. How do you even, like, what's the SEO on
even
that?
on Facebook, they didn't have the wall. So I can't even post it on Facebook and be like, hey guys, remember that shit we just did?
Oh my God.
There's nothing like that. There was maybe
like, go
photos.
check out this story I wrote.
Nothing.
Oof.
So, and Google's not really SEOing for violent man throws up 30 sloppy joes at the cafeteria.
Not. More coffee,
It's too localized a story. Yeah, let's hit this coffee. So I wake up the next morning. I was like, damn.
70 people.
70 people were live at a
so
moment.
the impressions were far beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the story got read by the first day. I think was read by like 5,000 people, which is incredible. This is a UC
Today
Irvine.
It's incredible.
It's a UC Irvine story.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we might be onto something. And then I was like, okay, let's write about something else. So Carl's Jr. comes out with a foot-long cheeseburger. Fucking foot-long cheeseburger.
Foot-long
To this day, they don't do that.
Yeah.
Carl's Jr. Foot-long cheeseburger.
Was it one long bun with little individual patties, or was it one long patty and one long bun?
One long bun. And I believe it was 3 regular sized patties in.
We should redo that. We
should redo it.
This is how my brain works. Like, I want that right now.
It's a foot-long sub.
Okay.
Right?
But
Carl's Jr. calling it a foot-long burger.
Yeah.
I was like, this is brilliant. But you know who's not talking about this? The OC register.
Anybody.
They're all too pretentious to talk about this shit because it's Carl's Jr. There's no voice to, look at me, it's fucking savior complex, giving a voice to these $1 million corporations.
Light bulb goes off. Who's talking about the fast food lure at that time? Nobody.
Nobody was. And so every like local newspaper had like a fast food beat. Some of them did. And I became friendly with like the OC register writers.
Like a
local
local
at the time.
paper you're talking about?
Yeah, like local papers and national papers too, but they're not talking about fast food. That's not a thing.
What year is this? Remind me of the year.
This is 2008.
Still, we're holy cow.
This is all 2008 and 2009 is when like I started defining what it is that we're going to talk about. And I didn't know all of this starting it. I just thought the name was funny.
You're just following your intention. Your intuition rather. Like you're like, this is cool. I can write about this. It's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving.
And I wanted to write about it in my voice. I wanted to write about it in the voice of my friends who were into streetwear and are into sports and are like not foodies. Like a foodie by definition, we never used that word.
It's not, it wasn't a thing back then.
Because it was a foodie at the time was basically a nomad who they took pictures or documented their journey of really fine dining things. They like went around, and is usually more affluent people who had the time and the money to go and visit these like places to eat, and then go tell their friends about where they ate.
But they weren't like blogging. Was blogging even a thing back then?
People did blog.
Yeah.
People did blog food stuff, and they talked about their personal journeys. Like, I ate at Noma this week, or
there must have been a dozen blogs on the internet in 2008. Maybe 12. Maybe.
There were some blogs. I don't know the number.
I mean, I just like looking at my notes here. The first,
how many?
The first, I don't know the exact amount, but the first ever food blog was 97, and that lasted for a long time. Remember Chowhound?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were the first ever documented, as far as we know, food blog. With 97, that's the decade before when you started.
Yeah.
But and I think it was chowhound.com, but like that wasn't like, no one knew about that.
Food on the internet had traffic, right? So I think food on the internet at the time was recipe driven. Like I remember a couple years into it, I don't know when they were founded, but there's websites like seriouseats.com.
Yeah.
And in the name, it's telling you how serious they're taking food. It's called Serious Eats.
Yeah.
You know, and then Eater, I don't know when they came around.
I think recipe.com was a thing back then.
Yeah. Those are great for SEO. Like it's great. They're utility to people.
Yeah, but they were like regular, like, you know, they were basically regurgitated cookbook recipes. Like you'd go and you'd find like beef bourguignon from Julia Child, or, you know, like chicken gumbo from Emeril Lagasse, like stuff like that. Stuff that's like pop culture from then, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And for me, I don't seek those out. I didn't seek those out. Like I don't have the money or the skill set or whatever to cook.
All right, so we're talking about the inception of FoodBeast, where it came from, your first few articles on FoodBeast, and really the fact that at the time in 2008, 2009, the only real publications for food on the internet was recipes and more of like, dare I say, pretentious food people talking about stuff that people like us in our teens or early 20s weren't seeking out. Beef bourguignon and like the upper class, like, you know, legacy cookbook authors. So you start FoodBeast, you start writing about fast food, kind of like, I mean, it's in the name, right? Hypebeast was a streetwear company. FoodBeast is essentially a streetwear, a street food. I don't want to say street food, but like a street style food.
Here's what it is. Hypebeast. You know what the term Hypebeast means and originated from was these. It was almost derogatory. It was like a fun, tongue-in-cheek, derogatory term towards Hypebeast's own community.
Okay.
A Hypebeast is someone that cared a lot about like visual things. Someone that cares a lot about a sneaker drop. You're a Hypebeast. You almost care.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying, you're a Hypebeast.
Okay.
You like what's hype. You like what's in.
Okay, so
it's
not a negative thing, essentially.
Well, some people will go around and be like, yo, he's just a Hypebeast.
I
Like he
remember
doesn't
that.
actually wear the shoes. He buys the shoes to resell or to put on his shelf. You're not a sneakerhead. You just like, you know what I mean?
I have shoes on my shelf right now.
So that's I don't see it as derogatory. It just means you're like a hyper fan of something. And which is why I was like, damn, that's
Hyper
cool.
fan. Okay, cool.
And so for FoodBeast was like, we just care a lot about food. We don't need, but we don't care about the same food. We don't have, now in our journey, because FoodBeast has existed for over a decade, we like different things.
Well over a decade.
You know, but I can appreciate where fast food fits in my life, or I can appreciate where it fits in someone else's life.
Right.
Just because today we'll probably go to a really nice dinner somewhere doesn't mean I don't appreciate or I don't remember the day where Carl's Jr. was there for me when I needed a 99-cent Famous Star. Or I needed the 3 for 99 Del Taco tacos. Like, I'll remember that shit. And people should. People forget that shit real quick.
Yeah.
So when we covered that, we wrote a story about that foot-long cheeseburger.
Yeah.
It kind of put FoodBeast on a map of some sort of legitimacy in the editorial journal sectors, right? So now the larger publications like the LA Times, the OC Register, they start citing us. They start citing us as like, oh, FoodBeast local food. They try to diminish us every time by just calling us local food bloggers. Like local food bloggers, FoodBeast discover foot-long cheeseburger at Carl's Jr. It's like, you guys are fucking nerds. Quit talking about us like that, dude. Just steal our picture and don't give us money and go on with your day.
Yeah.
So anyways, we start posting about that. And now we start getting invited to things, right? This reminds me, we got invited to Domino's Pizza headquarters. They were having this launch. They're recreating their dough. They can't get ahead of Pizza Hut because they're just behind. Everyone's like, Domino's is shit compared to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
So they invite us, they invite FoodBeast and like 9 really serious journalists. I remember OC Register there, LA Times, someone from New York Times. It's me and 9 other really serious motherfuckers. And I just remember the looks I got. Because they kind of like, when I would introduce myself, everyone had a card. I remember I printed cards too because I wanted to fit in.
Yours are kind of like slightly crooked. You hand cut them.
Mine was, they were shot glass coasters. I made sure I was like, if I'm going to do a fucking card, it needs to be different than everyone else's. Yeah. So they're like little shot glass coasters.
Love it.
And they're like, oh, you're a blogger? Every card I would hand, like, you're a blogger? And I was like, okay. So I just didn't get taken seriously at all.
Right.
And then I remember our coverage of Domino's at the time everyone went home and wrote the same story. New York Times, LA Times, Domino's like doing this. And like our story is just different. It was taken on my phone. Everyone had, I was still taking pictures on my phone.
They're like whipping out their pencils on a notebook.
Everyone had a fucking notebook.
Yeah.
We're in this room with like,
I mean, look, it's 2008. It's not that far-fetched to think that not everyone has like notes on their phone, right?
At this point though, it was maybe 2010, 2011, you know? So anyways,
a
few
then
years
you have a
laptop.
You have a smartphone.
I might have had a smartphone. I might have had a laptop, but all of these journalists are there frivolously, like asking like serious questions like, well, what do you think the ramifications of you guys changing your pizza dough are on this? And I was like, dude, what the fuck? I don't have any questions for these guys. I don't care. And so I went to the CTO. They brought the CTO in for Domino's. And this is where I realized fast food isn't really about the food. These guys are operations people. How are they going to get this shit to 1 million people?
Chief Technology Officer at a fast food company.
I mean, it's an important, crucial thing because then you realize this is a big part of why Domino's superseded Pizza Hut over the years.
I mean, they've completely eclipsed them at this point. Let's be honest.
People like, oh, I couldn't tell you if a Domino's pizza is that much better than a Pizza Hut pizza. I really don't care and I really don't know. But I know Domino's really slaughtered the game with their tech.
Right.
You have a Domino's pizza tracker. I don't even know if that shit really works, but it's cool. You see what you order a pizza on your phone. And then ching, and you're like, oh, it's with Sally at the cheese station.
She just put on your toppings.
Yeah,
it's like so. If you don't know what that is, I mean, I first learned about the pizza tracker when the David Chang show came out, Ugly Delicious. He did a whole thing on pizza. To contribute to what you were saying, like there's a lot of ways to look at food. You could look at it in a pretentious way and think that your taste bud brain is more significant and vast than a regular person, or you can be really open like we are and just enjoy food for what it is. And that doesn't mean that some people think Domino's isn't pizza. They're like, it's its own thing. But after watching that episode, to contribute to what you're saying is like Domino's isn't a pizza company.
Yeah, what does David Chang say about this?
He says it's a tech company.
Okay.
Because of this tech that you're talking about, the pizza tracker.
Yeah.
Which is so amazing in my opinion.
Yeah, and the pizza tracker is a skin of technology, right? So the pizza tracker, I'm harping on it because I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
But really the tech is, and this happens at a lot of different fast food places, it's in the way that the kitchen is set up. Like these are kitchens that are set up a certain way. That's tech, right? I was talking to the founder of Del Taco the other day, and he was telling me why he still owns 3 Del Tacos in Barstow. And there's a reason why he doesn't put chili cheese fries on his menu. It's because the tech is out of order in the back of house. The fries get put out at a different point of the system than the chili gets made. So adding that is just out of order. These fast food companies are thinking tech first. They're thinking operations first. It's not all about the food. Like the food is the end product that gets there, but they're shaving seconds off of things to earn millions and millions and millions of dollars and give a better experience for the person at the other end. Like In-N-Out, they have one size of fry.
This blew my mind.
I didn't realize this.
Blew my mind. Didn't even think about it.
That's why they can handle hundreds of people in a drive-thru at a time, because you're not sitting there as a consumer like, fuck, do I want small, medium, large? Fuck, man, I'm thinking about, should I get large? No, I'm a fat ass. I'm gonna go medium. Like, you cut out all that shit. You have one size fry. And that one size fry, if you want another one, order two, right? Yeah. And that makes it easier for the consumer.
Let's be honest. No one's ordering 2 fries at In-N-Out because they're trash.
They're good, man. That's my hot take.
Yeah, your hot take. You have a lot of hot takes. Okay, so just to pull you back a hot second. So you go to this Domino's event in 2010. You're one of 9, the only person that is seemingly like a millennial.
There's 2 bloggers there.
Yeah.
And 8 journalists. I mean, correct.
Okay.
2 bloggers,
8 journalists.
Yeah.
They're all writing the same story. What story do you write?
So I write about the people I met. I met a blogger from Florida who like covers Disney stuff. And I was like, this is cool. Domino's brought us together. I was like, the tech is cool. No one's talking about the tech. I was like, the tech is cool here. But what happened at that moment was I realized I went through the first day. It was a 2-day trip. First day, I met everyone. And I met this chocolatier. I forget his name, but you know him. And I was just like, why are you here, bro? You're like a professional chocolate guy. Like, why are you even on this like tour?
Oh, Johnny.
Johnny. I met him on that
Great
trip.
Guy. Yeah.
And I just started talking about Johnny. I was like, this is who got brought together. But I just realized the first day I was nervous and self-conscious, because here are these grown-ups that are in journalism kind of just slighting me. And I feel like I'm doing something
like
wrong.
Nose up, right?
Nose up. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I don't have my pen and paper out. Like, I'm taking photos with my phone because I can't afford the DSLR that you have. And I just felt like I was doing something wrong. But then day 2, I think after talking to Johnny, who's just like this chocolatier, very foul-mouthed guy. And I was just like, man, maybe it's cool to be a little different. Like, maybe it's cool to just be myself and like talk to the other 20-some-year-olds at home that read my blog versus like keep writing for my mom, who probably doesn't give a fuck about Carl's Jr.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because just using Johnny as an example, like he was kind of labeled as like not a misfit or a bad boy, but just different, especially with like something so delicate like working with chocolate. So for you to think like that after talking to him makes perfect sense. And to get that point of view from that meeting, it sounds like it kind of like jump started your mentality of like, I'm going to do me.
I think so. I didn't realize it.
So did you gain traction after that? Like, how did you keep, like, what after that? And it sounds like you were maybe a little bit discouraged, but also maybe a little bit energized. Like, what happened, like, moving forward?
I think what's cool is we kept getting invited to different things because of our take on what we would write about.
Right.
We didn't take them very serious. So these 8 journalists that went, I mean, they're going on behalf of their company.
Yeah.
They're going on behalf of the LA Times and the New York Times, and they have journalistic integrity. Like they have to disclose that they were there. They disclose that they're not being paid, but their trip was paid for. And like, they would hide all that and like be really cowardice about how they talked about it. Cause oh my God forbid someone paid for my flight to come talk about Domino's. Where on my end, I'm like sharing it with my community. Like, yo, this is sick, bro. I got flown out to go to Domino's. And that's like what like the early stage of YouTubers were doing. Because I got that at this point now, I'm starting to watch YouTube. I'm like, damn, when you see your person start succeeding, it's okay to enjoy the flight over. Like, I'm not writing about cancer treatments. Like, my job is not that important. I'm going to have fun with it. But those 8 journalists, they were saving lives with that Domino's coverage, bro.
It's funny that you're saying that, because beginning of YouTube, as being a person that was like around that time, anytime you showed any type of success, it was like, sell out. You selling out, bro. But it really wasn't that. You were like just trying to show that like this is a viable thing. Like, we're just trying to like promote this cool new experience that we're all having.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember feeling that way a little about Epic Mealtime.
Relax.
Well, it was interesting because you guys did a good job of balancing, I thought, as like a fan's perspective, because you guys were these new YouTubers on the block covering food. So at first I was threatened. I was like, God damn.
We weren't covering food. We were just in food.
You were talking about food.
Yeah, we were talking about
you were
food.
creating food recipes. But I was like, it's brilliant, man. This is like, and so when I saw that, what also differentiated you guys is not just that the recipes, you guys were making recipes on YouTube. They were crazy.
Yeah.
But you guys were flashy.
Yeah.
You guys
and like kind of like crass.
You had the tone that we resonated with as like a culture.
Well, it was like the new age tone. It was like, get the stuffiness out of there. As much as I loved legacy food TV, like it's over. Like that's what my parents watch. What am I watching? Am I really watching the same shit that my parents are watching?
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is, you know, I always tell people we're good friends, and people ask us if we're brothers all the time. And the truth is, like, we grew up very similar, and we are very similar. And it's just funny that we're both in food today, because back then, what we kind of started Epic Mealtime off of is kind of also what you started FoodBeast off of. Do you remember the site thisiswhyyou'refat.com?
Yeah.
Like thisiswhyyou'refat.com, for those of you that don't know, was
awesome site.
It was an amazing site that was literally just, it was called thisiswhyyou'refat.com, and there was no words. All it was pictures of ridiculous food items.
Heinous food creations.
Like dumb shit that is regular today. Like, you know, you go to, for example, like they'd have a picture of the foot-long cheeseburger from Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would have like the chili cheese fried pizza from insert wherever here.
Yeah.
Like that stuff's common today, but it really started with thisiswhyyou'refat.com.
Yeah.
That's why we kind of started our shit. We were like, what if we made a show showing how to make thisiswhyyou'refat.com?
Yeah.
Right.
That's good. It's smart.
It worked.
Yeah.
It clearly worked. So it's just interesting that back then, like that, it was such a unique thing. And then today, it's almost like a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? Like there's 1,000,001 places that are making like what we call the dumbest shit, you know?
And that's why I think there's a range to this shit. So that's why I really appreciate, like, I'll go fine dining now. You asked me in college, like, because I couldn't afford it. I came with a chip on my shoulder. Like, that shit is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate the whole spectrum of food. Yeah. I appreciate the whole community that it gets. And so now I'm like, what is our tone in a fine dining restaurant? Let's go.
Like, what is the FoodBeast like mantra that's not at a fast food restaurant? How can I approach this with the same kind of...
It's curiosity. That's like what led us everywhere. Okay. You're curious about the foot-long cheeseburger. I can also be curious at a fine dining establishment. As long as when I go to that fine dining establishment, me, any of our writers, any of our food people, any of our videographers, don't pretend like you know everything that's there.
Why would you?
It's okay to ask a question. It's okay to play, like, you don't know what foie gras is? Ask.
Do you find that like that gives you almost like a leg up on a traditional media person? Like a traditional media food critic might not go to Taco Bell headquarters and write about like their innovative test kitchen.
Yes, they're missing out.
I mean, I know they're missing out. Yeah. Doesn't that sometimes make you feel like you have an advantage? Like I think about that all the time. I think about that because I'm not a food reviewer and I don't write about food, but I'm certainly like a lover of all things food. And I definitely don't have like, what's the word? What did you call it before? Like, I don't play favorites. Like I love all food. I literally love all things food.
I think what I've come to terms with as I've learned more about food and learned more about health and learned more about like business, I empathize with those same people I made fun of, that those journalists or those chefs, those really snooty chefs that they just know too much. I think it's kind of sad sometimes. Yeah. Like, you know so much about food. Like I have a good chef friend, and
he's great, by the way. It's such a cool thing
to know too much.
I know a lot about food.
Yeah. And we know those people. It's like kind of intimidating sometimes to talk to them.
For sure.
But some of them know so much that they can't shake the cynicism around why a Taco Bell or a Carl's Jr. or a McDonald's is bad. I get it. I empathize now because they know now that, like, damn, there's no way that a burger that has to feed 50 million people a day is going to be a good burger for your soul and a good burger for your body.
But is it a good burger for the time? For example, okay, I have a friend who's a food reviewer who loves In-N-Out. You would love this guy. Literally loves In-N-Out so much.
Sounds a sensible person.
Sensible person. He rated an In-N-Out burger higher than he rated his experience at a fine dining restaurant.
I respect that.
I respect that too. But he's coming under fire because how dare he rate a fast food burger higher than a fine dining restaurant? And I'm saying, get your head out of your ass. Because he's not comparing the burger to the fine dining restaurant. He's comparing his experiences at those places.
I don't know how they give out Michelin stars, but I think In-N-Out deserves one.
I think you're wrong, but that's another topic.
You go to like, you seen the Bear and like, you're like, damn, this is what you get. This is what you need for a Michelin star. You need like the front of house to be on point. You need the back of house to be on point. You need a menu that is consistent and quality every time. In the Bear or in like a Michelin star restaurant, you have like a guy that's just on lettuce duty, bro. Like, well, just leaf the finest lettuce. You know, in a Michelin star restaurant, you have a guy that's just on potatoes, bro. There can't be no dents in this potato.
If you're about to bring this around to this is what In-N-Out is, I'm gonna reach over this table.
Every tomato sliced by hand, but in a perfect diameter. Throw out the butts. Never put a butt on a burger. It's In-N-Out. Why don't they have a Michelin star? And you know what? Better yet, they do it at fucking 1,000 locations.
There's not 1,000 In-N-Outs.
Whatever. There's 300.
Yeah.
Same shit. You go to Noma, they're all fudging around to do one thing.
Personal.
I bring it back to your reviewer. Like, I understand his point.
I understand your point, and I agree with you. I agree with you. If they gave Michelin stars to fast food restaurants, I think In-N-Out probably deserves one. I really do. Because of everything you're saying. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve that.
Also, you have to pay for a Michelin star. You have to pay to be reviewed. Like the town,
dude, everything you got to pay for. You want a freaking Grammy? Guess what? Costs money.
Yeah, Forbes 30 under 30. Spoiler alert.
Not real.
You pay for it.
Yeah. So yeah, so I guess my point is, just to bring it back to what we were saying about our chef friends that might not be able to kind of like think that down. They do know too much. They know too much that makes them cynics. That bleeds into food media 100%.
I remember Reach, our managing editor at FoodBeast, got kicked out of a restaurant that he was invited to. So the PR person invited him to this restaurant to try some food there, and we were going to cover it. We were going to shoot a video for it, do it. So Reach is sitting in the waiting room, and the chef comes out, spots Reach, tells him to get out of the restaurant.
I remember the story.
He said, I'm not serving you. I'm not serving you. You guys get the fuck out of here. Really rude, really aggressive. And he's like, I don't want my food next to your Spam fries. And he's referencing that on our Instagram, 2 posts before, there's a recipe for how to make French fries out of Spam.
Sounds delicious.
He heard that we were coming in. We were invited to his restaurant by a PR person to come in.
Who works for this guy.
Who works for this guy.
Yeah.
And so obviously Reach is offended. I would be offended too, to like come out in front of, it's a restaurant. There's people in there.
Yeah.
And you're yelling at him, telling him to leave.
Yeah.
The level of pretentiousness that you have to do that shit versus like, yo, listen, you don't want this guy to write. Step up and tell
There's
him.
a way to do that.
Do it casually.
There's a way to do that.
Tell your PR person, do something, bro.
Yeah.
Don't yell at someone.
Or
across
have
the room.
a hold on your restaurant. Why is your PR person even inviting him if that's not what you want? Didn't Reach slam him in a...
So Reach calls me right after and he's like, man, what do I do? This never happened before. Like, he's heated. And I'm like, we're calming him down a little bit. And I was like, all right, let's take a beat. Let's wait till tomorrow. And maybe we write about this. But like, let's cool the air.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just wait. Let's see how we feel tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we wait. The PR person is fucking shitting bricks. Because she's hitting Reach up like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I just heard about this. Like, it's not indicative of, and what's she going to say? Not indicative of the restaurant? Like, he just did that.
It's the guy.
So Reach wrote about it. Reach wrote about it the next day. Because we have...
But as he should, because it's media. What the heck? It's his experience.
The story's fun now.
Now it's fun.
Fun.
Yeah, now it's great.
fun. Like, it's better story now than probably eating his food.
Because it's not a fluff piece. It's not what you guys do. You don't do fluff pieces.
No, but we're not like we weren't even gonna, the FoodBeast mantra and everything we cover, we don't actually review anything. If stuff doesn't taste good, we just don't talk about it.
Right.
You'll just never hear about it from us.
But you're not giving like scales. You're like, oh, went here. This was a great experience. Saw this person, ate this thing.
Yeah. We'll talk about the fun moment or the fun part or the delicious thing that we had.
Right.
Like, that's our whole thing. Every piece of content we do. We're not out here like, this is a 3 out of 5. That's not our brand. There's great people that do it. It's just not us. So Reach the whole day. This is now a fun story.
Yeah.
He's like, I got kicked out because of Spam fries. Now you got to click, you got to read. And that story got so much massive pickup.
I remember that. Yeah.
And like, I think that is good because if we're talking about food culture and internet culture and where they intersect, I think the celebrity chef idea got amplified on the internet. And for some people, it went to their heads and you got nasty chefs. This is where you get like kind of terrible movies like the Burn or whatever. Like this idea of this
like
chef.
that one, by the way.
That's kind of the mantra.
Oh,
what they're made off.
Right.
And then you have people that are making genuine deserve to get featured. Internet chef became a thing. Like MZ generation.
Yeah.
I like MZ, but there's a lot of people that critique by this idea of being an asshole chef. And like
that was put him to the forefront, right? Like that was his persona at the time.
Yeah.
Quite charming and nice.
It's a fucking character. He's so funny. He's
Exactly.
like, he's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like, and he wouldn't actually have this empire that he does if he was actually that character.
100% not.
You know?
Now, granted, a lot of like chefs from the 70s and 80s, like it was before media, before anything, it was grueling. You know, being a chef at a very popular restaurant, especially in Europe, it was a grueling job. Plus, like you had to cut your teeth in like culinary school. Like from what I hear, very grueling job. But if you can see yourself aside from that, just like in media, like old media versus new media, you realize that like you make your own rules today.
Yeah.
You take a guy like Michael Voltaggio, cut his teeth in culinary school.
Yeah.
Did some crazy shit. This is a guy that is a Michelin star chef who you know, who I know, who loves our stuff.
That's cool.
It's so cool because he's not comparing the bean and cheese pizza that we made to his charcoal roasted potatoes with sour cream foam. Why would he do that? But he loves bean and cheese and pizza. So why would he not love that?
There's enough eats to go around. And I think someone like that is aware of that. Where someone who is a snooty chef who thinks, damn, if I promote Spam fries, that's going to eat from my business.
Yeah, no, and it's really cool that like there are people like that. And if there weren't, if everyone was like that, it wouldn't be interesting.
And we need asshole chefs too, though. Like we need
contrast in everything we do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
We're getting to the end here, but I wanted to ask you one question because you've been doing this for so long. You've been doing this for the better part of a decade, longer, 13 years, realistically. Yeah. When was the first time that you knew that this was like a forever career? Food media, food business, food entertainment, online food on the internet and food. When did you know the internet and food was something you were going to like do for a long time?
Oh, when I cut my first check to myself. I think that was it. I mean, I've worked for FoodBeast. Well, I started FoodBeast and then I did FoodBeast for like 6 years before paying myself anything. So the first couple people I hired before I paid myself.
As a smart businessman does.
Hey, I didn't want to go get venture funding. I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't understand any of that. You know, my dad fucking still cuts wood to this day. He's a carpenter. So like for him, it's like if the business doesn't make money, then it's not really a business. So when I would talk to him or talk to anyone in my circle around like, hey, I want to like do something. We're like, cool. Does it make money? It's like the first question they ask. And everyone that was going out to get venture funding was like, they make things first, not every company, but a lot. They make things that don't make money because it'll make money eventually. I'm like, I'd rather make money today. And that's why we're still around, knock on wood. And some of the ones that raised venture funding, like you have to exit. A venture fund is a venture for a reason. It needs to exit one way or another. So it went through phases. Like I remember the moment where I was like, damn, people care. So like it was probably the foot-long cheeseburger article, or I made up a rumor around In-N-Out having nickel priced burgers on their anniversary, on their 50th anniversary, which was like a real tip that I got. The tip ended up being false and I had to correct it.
Yeah.
But I remember publishing that same story in my dorm room and then walking to the library hours later and going. And in the library, there's like a panel of PCs people are on. And I saw two people on the website talking about In-N-Out. And I was like, this is cool. This is cool. And so, but it was the moment where I was able to, hey, there's enough money in the bank account now where I can quit my other jobs and pay myself, finally cut myself a check. And if we don't make any money for the next 6 months, I could still cut myself a check for those 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is something. And I'm just stubborn. So I knew I wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
So that was the moment where I was like, fuck it, we got something here. And then there we go.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 13 years. Here's to another 13 years.
Yo, God willing, man.
I know, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Appreciate you being my friend in real life and in the food world.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Is there anything you want to plug? Any type of social media or anything like that?
Not really, man. If you guys have any bean and cheese burritos you recommend, hit me on Instagram, Book of Eli. Obviously, follow FoodBeast, please. Please. We need more followers.
Amazing. Dude, this has been great. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Full Discourse is a podcast hosted by me, Josh Elkin, produced by Diane Kang, Melissa D. Montz, and Diamond M Print Productions. Camera operator Jeff Liu, post-production sound by Coco Lawrence, production assistance by Melanie D. Watson, and music by me.